Good evening, and we are live on March's edition of the Love Shack Chats, where this month we are talking about the world of dating and who stole the old-fashioned way of doing it. But which old-fashioned way? Was it the alcohol and poor decisions, or was it even farther back when our families arranged who we would see and everyone had a chaperone and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we're going to dig into this, and as normal we have Matt, Mitra and Andrea with us. Sadly this month Nisanka will not be on board. She's not feeling too well, so hopefully she will be back to the land of the living very, very soon. And yeah, let's talk about dating. And where are we at now? Andrew is just telling us a little bit about some affiliate group who try to get her to help promote their stuff offline. So we'll talk about that a little bit in a polite way, of course. And then what we'll do is take out Cupid's arrow to a fashion where, if you think about the bow and arrow, you pull the arrow back before we can shoot it forward. So we'll look at the past a little bit, and then we'll look at where we're at now and where we feel things are going in the future, or at least where we believe they should be going. So I will hand over to Andrea.
Yeah, that was really crazy. So I signed up for this affiliate program, and there's many different things you can look at. And so I was looking in the spirituality field, but I was curious. So I looked at the dating series that they have. And it wasn't even like about dating for men and women. It was basically teaching men how to get laid. Like straight up, if you want to get laid every day, these are the steps you have to take. And they're charging like $300 for this program. Like, it's not cheap, right? I will give you the tools and the words you need to use to just get laid today, any day you want. It wasn't even about, like, to me, the dating thing, if you're dating, you're looking for someone to spend time with more than one night if you're in the dating scene. And so this was just
Absolutely.
like, how was that under the dating thing? There were three different video programs that I had watched, and I'm like, wow, is this really what dating's all about? I haven't been in the dating area for a little while, but I know when I was running around doing hookups, I sure wasn't looking for love or anyone to spend time with. It was like, okay, I don't really care if I see you again or not. Like, I've been there. I think we've all kind of been there at some point. But when you're dating, like, I like courting, like, pick me up, open the door for me, bring me flowers. Like, I'm not a very good girly girl, but sometimes I like those things. And to me, the dating thing is just listening to the men and women out there, and they don't want to date anymore. And I can see why. If men's, like, younger men, I know a lot of older men don't think this way, but young men, if they just want to dip their stick and carry on, there's no room for a relationship if that's what your dating objective is.
Yeah, it's a very different world to the way it used to be. Certainly back in the old courting days, I would say it was a lot easier to a degree. You certainly wasn't a case of swipe left, swipe right, and just everything in an instant. It's almost like the whole dating culture has been thrown in a microwave, and ping, another one, ping, another one. But then if you take a step back and think, well, you can cook a roast dinner in a microwave, or you can cook a roast dinner properly. One is going to be ready in a couple of minutes, and the other one is going to take a lot more effort. Which one's going to taste better? Which one's going to be more enjoyable? The proper cooked roast dinner. So if you want a long-term relationship, that kind of strategy just isn't going to work.
No.
And the hookup thing, I know a lot of those things are targeted at men, but let's be real, it takes two to tango.
Yes, it does. Well, I only said that because these three videos were done by males, and it was about how to get a woman.
Yeah.
And I was really kind of disappointed because there was nothing in there on actual dating. And it was like the the niche was dating and relationships, and there was nothing about a relationship. Like, I believe you need
Yeah.
to nurture any relationship. Like, after I left my marriage, I was just like, fuck them and chuck them. I didn't want nothing to do with anyone. I didn't care if I ever saw
Yeah.
you again. Meet my own needs and carry on. But I met my spouse now, and it wasn't even on Tinder, it was in person. And it was like, everyone was like, what do you mean you didn't meet him on Tinder? Because to me, that was just for that time. I wasn't looking for love in that app. I knew if I wanted a relationship, when I was ready for one, it's going to show up because I'll be ready for it. Or two,
Yeah.
I'm going to search out the right things. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with like Christian Mingle or Match.com or some of the other ones away from like Plenty of
Yeah.
Fish, Tinder. There are some actual dating sites that actually provide like tools for how to go on a date, there's videos, there's stuff you can be like, are you looking for long lasting love? Then you need to practice some things. Like, you can't show
Yeah.
up and just like not want to participate, as you do in like a hookup scene. And relationships take, like you said, time and nurturing and love. And are you able to take it to that level when things go sideways, or is it an instant breakup?
Yeah.
That to me
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
dating.
Yeah. I think the quality of a relationship is defined almost not necessarily by the length of time you've been together or the fact you haven't had an argument at all, which is very unusual. It's how you respond and deal with these disconnects that are actually part of the process.
Hmm.
The first stage of dating, where everything's beautiful and you kind of leave your frontal cortex behind somewhere and it just feels magical. And then the next stage is where it's like your partner just triggers the hell out of you. And that is actually part of the process because you've got to work out where your boundaries are, where your triggers are, and if you're actually a match. And that doesn't come up in the good times when everything's great. It comes up in the challenging times. But unfortunately, these days, with everything being so quick, as soon as there's an argument or a disconnect, it's like, I will bin this off and I'll go and get another one, which is great if you're in your early 20s or your late teens. But if you're a bit older than that and you've got kids involved, chucking a relationship away that quickly isn't always the best approach. Or you may have a house together. It's all about how you deal with it and respond to it. And there's a great saying, I can't off the top of me think who came up with it. I think it was Les Brown, that says, when you're inside the picture, you can't see the frame. And when couples are going through a challenging time, whether they've got put rings on fingers or not, it's a lot of the time it's too late when they reach out for help.
Yeah, I think
So again, they chuck it away.
yeah, so true. As you said, the patience is not there now. The microwave world, as we call it, there's no patience, and availability is so huge that nobody
Yeah,
cares. Because courting or dating was meant because we are social animals, not to forget, and we want to fill that void or to have that relationship beyond just physical or financial. And it's an amazing, beautiful thing. But I absolutely understand where now the availability is there, very quick things are available, and people have no patience. The also I saw, when people have, if you start dating, somehow people are looking for somebody. When they say match, it doesn't mean you will find somebody exactly like you. They're individuals, they have different things, and so after a few stints, either it dies down or people move out. So yeah, I think a little bit of purpose driven relationship or dating might be a good idea, where
yeah,
whether it is a brunch or a lunch or a dinner, I don't know, the people will have to decide.
Yeah, the important part to have matched up is the values. Whereas these days, I see a lot of people who want someone who likes the same kind of movies or the same kind of music. Well, for me, that's the top half of the iceberg that's above the surface that people see. The reason for the disconnects a lot of the time are below the surface. That's where the values are. That's where the energetic match or mismatch is going to be found. And that doesn't happen straight away. It takes a little bit of time.
And I think that we have to also remember that the people we meet are a reflection of us. So is this
Yeah,
someone, if if there's something about yourself that you're not enjoying and you attract that person into your life and you're like, oh my God, I can't stand them. You have to take a look at what it is about you that you don't like as well. I think we forget sometimes our level of self-love and worth comes out in our relationships. And if you want somebody who's going to empower you and support you and push you forward, like be better and do better. That's like my motto of this year is do better and be better. So I'm trying to find those people who are going to help me push through the behaviors that I've had that I'm aware of that I'm ready to stop. But if I was in the dating scene and somebody just wanted to be completely complacent and just be like, oh yeah, you do you, I'd just be like, okay, I can't even spend time with you. Like if you're not going to do anything good for me, and because I am that person, and you'll know right away, like how can I help you? Because we don't have those hard conversations when we're dating. It's always about like, oh, okay, what music do you like? What movies do you like? What actors do you like? I kind of like love that I don't watch television, and I didn't watch movies for a long time until I met this man, and people are like, oh, so and so in this movie, and I'm like, no. And I was on a date with this one guy, and that's all he wanted to talk about. He's like, "Do you know anything about movies?" I'm like, "No, I don't, and I don't want to." Right? Like, but that's something you need to know about someone. If you love going to the movies, you probably don't want to
yeah,
be with somebody that doesn't watch movies or pay attention to celebrities and stuff like that. Like who are you, and what level of love do you have for yourself in meeting somebody that's going to match that or better that? I find in past relationships, like a long time ago, the men always had to have this higher power in the relationship, right? In old school dating. And now we are kind of at an equal level part. So are you are you stuck in that space where the men have to do everything, be everything, provide, be that authentic man that the world makes you to see? And are you going to be that docile woman who wants to be a housewife and raise a bunch of kids? Like, there's that's an
yeah,
option. But if you don't have that conversation in the dating game, and then you start dating and you move in together and you find out, well, you really want kids and you really don't, well, why didn't you have that conversation before you moved in together? you know
yeah, yeah. Because the last thing you want is 6 months or a year down the line, you've got Harry the Hunter dating Vicky the vegan. It's not going to work. That passions are going to cause a conflict that you're not going to solve. So
exactly.
yeah, those big conversations are really important to have them earlier on.
So what,
And
Alan, like, I know you're a dating expert in your field, so like, and I don't know, are you coaching men and women?
I do coach both, but I am very, very selective with the men that I work with, in that, shall we say, if they're the kind of guy that would be a great fit for that affiliate thing you mentioned earlier, they're not a fit for me. I
Mm,
work with people that want a real quality relationship. So
relationship. So
yeah, I do work
when
with both, work with
when you're
couples as well. So
working when you're working with your women or your men, what is like some advice that you give them if, let's just say, they don't have a relationship and they're just looking for one? They've just starting this search and they found you and said, like, I want to attract my ideal dream partner. What advice, like, what do you tell them?
well, the first question I ask in early on the sessions is, who the hell are you? Because so often we have this image in ourselves of what we should be, this kind of mask that's up here that our ideal partner will fall in love with. And so we get that out the way and focus more on the self, focus what's inside, and then look at what kind of man would be attracted to her as she is right now and where she's going. And then we'll look at what kind of man she would be attracted to and see what the difference is. And so much of it, as I say, is below the water level of that iceberg.
Do you think
So
people are
three
normally?
steps.
Do you think people are normally looking for something far, like the online dating or the apps? Sometimes people don't look what is nearby, always looking for something that is beyond or maybe further, or when not happy
Sometimes.
with what they have.
I think when we look back at the times before online dating, back in the days where the lads are going to pick the girls up, take them out for dinner or whatever they're going to do, and then drop them back off home again. You could go have a first date that was 2 or 3 hours, because by the time you already knew that person from a club or from a group, and they were local and they were in your awareness. Whereas now it's like the online thing. All that app does is bring you into someone's awareness and them into yours. It's very, very basic level connection. But because there's so many options, we want to find our ideal partner before the first date. And it doesn't really work that way. So it's almost like people want what's easy instead
Yeah,
of
exactly.
investing the time, and then they end up wasting time, which is the
Well,
thing
it's
that I
like
want to do.
work.
So
It's work, right? People have to put effort into it,
yeah,
and I find people these days are not willing to put effort into a lot of things. If it doesn't just come to them, then they're not going to do it. I know I do a manifesting technique with my ladies that are looking for a man, and I've had a couple of women have success with it. It kind of makes me giggle, but my thing is just write out like every bloody detail you want in this man. And I mean, hair, foot size, peen size, hairy chest, no hairy chest, muscles, whatever. Just get real clear about this person, the ideal, and personality traits as well that you want to have. And this one lady came back to me and she was like, I did your trick. She goes, I've had it in there for 6 months in my drawer because you have to hide it and put it away. And then if you think of something you forgot, you go write it on there because you want to make sure you get it on there. And she's like, he's absolutely perfect, but I wanted a guy with hair. And I'm like, really? That's what's going to stop you is the hair? Like, how bad
yeah,
do you really want a relationship? But if that's something you really want, you need to make sure you ask for it and then work towards being that human or that person that will attract that. Like, I think knowing who you are and your identity away from the labels, and I'm actually just starting to work on this a little bit in my group, is like this whole month of April is going to be focused on identity, because the group I have right now is the art of loving yourself, and the people don't know who they are besides a mom,
yeah,
a
yeah,
wife, it's our labels that have been put on us, and we think that's who we are. You're actually so much more. Like, are you kind? Are you generous? Are you loyal? I have so many better questions to ask you than how's the weather? Like, even when I meet people, and there's people that I know to say, oh, how's the weather today? But if I meet you, I don't want to have a weather conversation. I want to know who you are. Like, fully share that with me. And if you're not who you want to be, or you're not in alignment, then just work on it. And that's why we have coaches like all of us to help us be who we want to be. It's
absolutely.
not that there's anything wrong with us, but how can we be better? Isn't the point of life to do better, be better every day? So how can you be that better person that you want to be? And just work towards it. You just a little bit every day. It doesn't have to be a lot of work, but your self-worth work, relationship work, it's all work. If you think life is a hard work, then that's what life's going to be for you. Or you can just enjoy it and be like, this is what I do, and this is
Yeah,
who I am.
and it's all a fun adventure.
It can be. Yeah.
Let's face
Yeah,
it.
and also,
I know I've said
I
it
think
before on these. Go for it, Mitra.
no, go for it, go for it.
I was going to say, I know I've said it before on quite a few of these calls, but you take yourself with you to every relationship you go to. So to not be at your best, or at least striving towards that, then are you really going to serve your partner in the best way that they can, or your relationship, or your family?
Also, I don't know where the fun starts to go away. I don't know if you've seen it. The initial dating time is full of enthusiasm, or a lot of curiosity, but slowly the fun, it starts becoming very serious. I don't know why it becomes so serious. And also the rush to just fill the gap of, or just the desire to be in a relationship also brings that rush, and then obviously falling down or falling out of it. There's, as you both so rightly said, it has to be given some thought, rather than just for
Yeah,
the sake of dating or sake of having a relationship.
I think in some ways the fun goes out of it when there's too much certainty, because we definitely have a high need for certainty, but also we have a high need for variety. And if you know where you're going to go this week and next week and the week after and in 5 years' time, because you do the same thing every week in, week out, it's going to get boring and tedious. So you have to vary it up a bit.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of, no matter how long you've been in a relationship, there's a date night once a week, whether you have kids or not. And I only stand strong with that because when I was married, my kids were really little, and my mother-in-law had said, "I don't care what you guys are doing, but Wednesday nights I get the kids." So we had this night without kids, and I'm like, "Oh, perfect, date night." Every year for about 15 years, we had Wednesday night date night. And I do believe that because we just did that without our kids and had that little bit of time together, it allowed us to move
Yeah,
forward in our relationship, or end it, or whatever it needed to happen. But at least we had those conversations about it. We had time for it without
yeah,
having to worry about the children being around and hearing it. You don't want, and when, even I know tons of relationships that are just complacent, they're just there. Yeah, I'm with that person. I
yeah,
feel nothing for him anymore, but it's convenient. It's easier to live with two incomes. So it's just completely complacent, and two people just do completely opposite things and have nothing to do with each other. And I do believe you can bring your relationship back to a juicy, loving relationship if you if
yeah,
you want to put the time and
definitely.
effort into it. Time and effort.
Yeah. Time and effort, and from both sides. If only one's putting in the time and the
Yes.
effort, it ain't going to work. But I do speak to a few people that say, "Oh, I don't want to do a date night." Or why not? Because then I've got to think of something to do. Well, you either have the problem of you're not got a great connection with your partner, or you have the problem of coming up with something to do on a date night. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Sometimes it just go for a walk,
Right?
get out in
Or
the fresh
sometimes
air without
talking
the
and
kids.
walking. Talking and walking heals a lot of things for couples. I've
Yeah,
learned this. I know I do it because you're not at home, right? You're not like in this environment that you've created that you can't recreate in that moment. So when you leave the house, and especially if you're in a public or place, is less chance of argument, and you get maybe to hear the reasons why you're disagreeing on something. And maybe you can
yeah,
work out something that you can compromise together, or just say, you know what, I'm going to agree to disagree with that on you, and let's just not talk about it. You know, it's okay to not like and do everything your spouse is doing, or your partner, or whatever. You don't have to, but you don't have to make a big deal of it. Like for me, I always just ask that question. Is anyone going to get hurt? Are you going to hurt yourself? Is anyone going to die? If they're no, okay, then you can just agree to not like it, and that person likes it, so let them do it. Because I don't think we should take away in relationships. I find that a lot too. Someone's like, "Oh, well, you can't do that because I don't want you to." Well, what business is it of yours anyway? First of all, I'm just letting you know I'm doing this because I'm being nice. I don't care what you think. I'm still going to do it. Right. And I don't think, unless anybody's going to get hurt or you're hurting yourself, I don't know why there's such, I don't know, walls around people stepping out and doing new things. You know, like I'm joining the kink scene here in my little local town, and I'm super excited about it. I got asked to be a presenter at the very first kink event here in Nanaimo, and I'm super stoked. But I've had a couple people be like, "Well, isn't your man going to get mad at you?" And I'm like, "Why would he get mad at me?" Well, does he want you to do that? I'm like, I don't care if he wants me to do that. Like, I literally don't. But of course I do. And I'm like, are you sure it's fine? He's like, yeah, I plan to come too. I'm like, okay, cool. You know, like whatever. But he could say, I'm not participating in this and I don't want you to because it's, I know it's beyond what he knows in exploration, right? So it's new for him. And I know he said a couple of times it makes him uncomfortable. And especially there's going to be lots of people around. So I know these things for him are uncomfortable. So I'm fine if you don't want to come. But please don't stop me from doing it because, like, if you are, honestly, there's the door. I'd be fine with that. But because I want to explore and I want to know more to support what I want to be doing more in the sexual area of life, right? So this is just going to open up so many more doors for us. And I don't know why people have to tell their partner because it's out of their comfort zone that they're not allowed to do it. When you stop somebody from growing, that's not a healthy relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. Resentment starts to creep in. Um, as I remember when I was married, I got stopped from doing a lot of things that I enjoyed. Not quite in the same extreme, but just things were actually good for me, like playing hockey because I'd run around. I'd be a lot fitter, and you could also release a lot of anger and frustration whacking a ball from one end of a field to the other. But because it costs money, oh no, you can't do that. No, you need to be at home. You need to be with the children. You need to do this and all that stuff. I wouldn't stand for it now, but at that time, I didn't have the same boundaries or self-respect that I have now.
Right. And how important are boundaries in creating a relationship? Like, if somebody does something that you don't like, are you going to say, hey, I didn't appreciate when you did that? Or are you just going to let it slide? And then you say you marry this person or whatever, and 10 years down the line, they're still doing it because you never once said that you had this boundary. And now you don't know how to change it.
Yeah.
Right. Boundaries, I don't know. Self-love and relationships, I think, go hand in hand, and identity. If you don't know who you are and what you want, and what you like, how can you be with somebody else? You know, it's like what I talk about with masturbation. With wait, you know, we masturbate so that we can get to know our own bodies. Because why do you want anybody else to be with you when you don't even know what you like? And then they're doing something that you don't like, and you just lay there and you're like, oh God, I hope this ends soon. Oh God. You know, there's dates that are like that, aren't there? Like, oh God, I got to get out of here. But we don't say that. We sit there and tolerate it. We need to be able to say no, and that's not working for me, or little to the left, or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But we're scared. We're scared to do that because we're scared we're going to hurt somebody's feelings. We're scared we're going to offend somebody.
Yeah. It's almost like we want our partners to see us for who we are, but we don't even know who we are.
Yeah.
And a lot of it gets hidden because it's not part of what society says is attractive or whatever.
So if anyone is listening and wants to get into this dating place, and obviously the older ways are dying down slowly because of the technology, where should they go? Where should they begin? I mean, I know some people who have found, who have been on date through people have walking groups and things like that. And they make friends and people get to know each other through the community walking, or some people join dancing classes and things like that. What would be your take on it?
Well, I would say the important thing is not how you meet, is that you do meet. As I met my partner online, interestingly enough, it was actually the day that I was that frustrated with all the whole online stuff. I went on there to delete my profile. It's like, oh look, I've got a message. Let's check that out. And here I am. So if I'd just deleted it without reading the message, I would probably be in a very different place today. You just
I
never
think
know.
I
But
think you just
interesting.
have to be open to explore, because like even
Yeah.
still with my scenario with my man, everybody thought I was going to find my dream lover on Tinder, and I went to a concert and there was this guy there. I think you don't know what you don't know. But Tinder, I know I wasn't using for to find a lover, like a long-term lover. It was fun for good times in the moment, but those people, all of them that I met, they weren't the people that I wanted to spend more time with. They were fun for a couple of nights or a couple of weekends or whatever. But and when I met Perry, it was just like, oh shit, I think I actually like this guy. Like I want to spend more time with him. And it's like, oh, it shocked me because I really didn't feel like I was in a space of being ready for another long-term relationship. But at the same time, my heart was just telling me that I needed to explore this. And this year we'll be together for 7 years. So it's like amazing that
Excellent.
it worked out. And he's totally okay with everything that I do with my nakedness in my life. And that takes a lot of courage for a man too. So like there's a lot in that. And people say, oh, I couldn't do that. Oh my God, I can't believe that Perry lets you do that. And I'm like, there's no letting me do anything. If he couldn't support it, he couldn't have been in my life. Like that's just the way it is, because I'm not changing what I'm doing because it brings me so much joy and love and reminds me about who I am and where I come from, that I'm not giving that up for a man. I did that already once and it didn't turn out to be forever. So I'm not doing it again, right? We learn from our mistakes. But it does scare me a little bit, the dating things right now, like the young 20-year-olds and younger, where I work with a lot of women here locally, and the stuff that they tell you that is just like, you just can't believe the boundaries that are pushed, and there's no isn't an okay thing. And I wish that it would slow down again and just take somebody to teach them how to go on a date, like how to actually set up going on a date, both men and women. I don't think it's a
Yeah.
one person job, but how do you show up for a date? And how do you get what you want out of that date? And how do you find out if this person you want to explore more about or with?
Maybe we should create that together.
Right? Yeah, we could do that. But I do think teaching like people the meaning of dating, because been doing a little bit of research on the dating thing, and there's not much. I mean, there's a few really good coaches that I know that are doing really well with dating stuff, and we need just more of it. There's a lot of single people out there that feel a lot alone, and they're not
Yeah.
alone. They just how are you showing up for the people that you're meeting in your life? And where are you meeting these people?
Yeah. And I think society for a long time has misled women with what's attractive to men and vice versa as well. So we end up putting out there what we think will be attractive and we're actually pushing them away.
I'm sure after people start dating, they will need some calmness and fun and joy, and through mindfulness and meditation as well.
Who knows? They might even need it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I think meditating together is like romantic and fun. I do that with my mate. I'm like, do you want to meditate? And he sometimes looks at me funny, but he always says yes. So we go do it. I think it's just like, I don't know, there's something romantic about laying there, being in your own zone in your head and holding hands with somebody. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's nice. It just
And
brings a loving feeling.
you start soul gazing afterwards, and
Yeah. And then, cancer happens.
and we might have to leave it there because it is a public forum.
Well, that's what happens once you grow that relationship. It wouldn't be if you're not at a place where you can do soul gazing. It brings such a deep connection. I really I've done it with my children, with my friends, and I don't know what it is about it. I can't explain it, but it just makes you feel deeply connected to that person. And if you're struggling, like my daughter and her husband one day were fighting, and I walked over to them and I made them hold hands, and they both like stopped and looked at me, and then they looked at each other and giggled, and I'm like, is it worth fighting about over Sunday morning breakfast, or can you guys just hold hands and enjoy each other and talk about your stuff later? Because there's like a house full of people we're cooking for, and they're bickering back and forth. So I just made them hold hands. And it's amazing how if you do that, when you have a discrepancy or having a not seeing eye to eye moment, just hold each other's hands and remind each other that you love each other and it's okay you're not agreeing. We get this fight or flight or defensive or offended, and we have to like fight back. What if you just held their hand and said, okay, we're disagreeing on this, let's talk about this later, or if it's the time to talk about it, talk about it. But when you're cooking breakfast for a house full of people, you probably shouldn't be fighting with your hubby, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Work on the connection between you before you have that deep argument. If it becomes an argument, because that when we're connected, we're less likely to be in that fight or flight zone.
Exactly. And being able to set those boundaries. I teach a communication container on how to set it up. So there is no arguing. There's there's no room for high emotions, because no good decisions are ever made when emotions are running high. People get hurt. Things are said that aren't meant. It can go completely sideways very quickly. So I set up an actual container where I need to be vulnerable. I need to talk to you. Do you have the capacity to listen to me? And if not, when do you? You like asking the person for permission to be vulnerable around them, because I think that's one thing in relationships we're not is vulnerable, and we need to be. It's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to question or be curious of what else is possible.
Yeah, and it's okay to not have the bandwidth or the space to listen at this time with the amount of stuff we've got going on. But the important thing is, as you say, when will you have that time? And make it happen. Because if you don't readdress it further down the line, then it just doesn't, and it becomes a dividing wedge between the two people.
Yeah, it's the things we don't deal with just repeat themselves until we learn the lesson, right? That's why people in relationships feel stuck and things keep coming up and they can't get through it, because one, they don't know what they need. They don't know what they want. They don't know how to express it. We're not taught how to talk about our feelings. Instead, we're taught like, you did this and you did that. And we're pointing fingers instead of, I'm feeling really unappreciated right now. I did all this stuff and you didn't even say thank you, because all you wanted was a thank you. But instead of saying, you didn't say thank you, just, I didn't feel appreciated in this situation. Don't use the word you. It's like one of the biggest things in life.
Yeah. Absolutely. And on that note, I think we're coming close to running out of time for today. So any closing thoughts or feelings or anything you'd like to share before we say goodnight to these lovely listeners?
I mean, I just want to say dating has been there forever. Anybody thinking about it, enjoy it, and take some personality, patience, and fun with you, and I think it's going to be okay.
If you're nervous or scared about it, get someone to guide you through the process.
Right. There's a bunch of coaches out there who work directly with women or men for dating advice or how to do it. But I just think be cautious and make sure you know who you are so that you can have the best life you can have. If once you know who you are, then being around the people who push you to do better is like the best feeling.
Yeah, because that's where it all starts at the end of the day, especially for me. If I don't know who I am, how can I expect my partner to? So it's been a very interesting deep chat as normal, and we will be back again next month, hopefully as a 4. What we will talk about then, who knows?
Who knows?
If there's something you'd like us to dig into on April's episode, then drop a comment down below, and you never know, we might pick that.
Bye.
And see you next time. Bye.